While Matt Armstrong waits for Bugatti to return a phone call about a 4,500-pound fuel pump control module, the other Veyron in the room has become significantly more interesting. Because Mark McCann's Bugatti Veyron, the one he spent 900,000 pounds assembling piece by piece, has a body panel situation that nobody who has ever owned or worked on one of these cars has encountered before. Understanding what makes it so unusual means understanding a decision made by a German styling house decades ago, one that has been silently creating problems for this car ever since. Every Bugatti Veyron left the factory painted. That is the standard. Body panels sprayed with etch primer, a color coat applied on top, lacquer sealed over that. The same basic process used on any other car, executed with extraordinary precision. Mark McCann's Veyron left the factory in red, standard Bugatti procedure, and then it went to Mansory. Mansory is a German coach building and customization company that specializes in ultra-high-end vehicles. What they did to this particular Veyron was methodical and extreme. Every panel came off, the factory red paint was stripped all the way back to bare metal, and the raw aluminium underneath was polished to a mirror finish. The logic is straightforward enough. Polished aluminium on a Bugatti Veyron looks extraordinary. The consequence, which becomes obvious the moment you understand what aluminium actually does when it is exposed to air and the physical world, has been creating problems for this car ever since. There is no paint layer on these panels. No primer between the metal and everything the road throws at it. On a painted car, a stone chip damages the paint and leaves the metal underneath protected. On this Veyron, a stone chip damages the metal itself, directly, permanently, at a molecular level. There is no color-matched aerosol that touches that up. There is no panel that can be resprayed and blended. Every scratch, every mark, every piece of equipment that makes contact goes straight into the structure of the car and stays there. Which is why a machine shop team spent 8 hours polishing a single panel. Which is why the word irreplaceable keeps surfacing in every conversation about this restoration. There are no replacement Bugatti Veyron aluminium body panels available anywhere in the world. The panels this car has are the panels it will always have. Before any polishing could begin, the dents had to be addressed, and this is where the work becomes genuinely fascinating, because aluminium behaves in ways that are completely counterintuitive to anyone who has spent their career working with steel. The aluminium Bugatti used on this car is grade 5754, a specific alloy chosen for its strength and rigidity at high speed. Engineered, in Bugatti's own words, for a car capable of 253 miles per hour. That same strength, the property that makes it ideal for its intended purpose, makes it deeply difficult to work with once it has been damaged. Grade 5754 does not flex and spring back the way softer alloys do. It holds its deformed shape. Correcting that requires annealing, warming the aluminium with a blowtorch to a precise temperature at which the metal softens enough to be worked without cracking. The way a skilled metalworker knows when that temperature has been reached sounds improvised, but is rooted in decades of accumulated experience. Hold the wooden handle of a tool close to the surface. When the wood starts to scorch, the aluminium is ready. Not a thermometer. Not a digital readout. Burning wood. That knowledge does not live in any manual Bugatti has ever printed, and it is not in any service bulletin their dealer network could distribute. It lives in the hands of the person doing the work. This is the dynamic that regular viewers of this channel will recognize immediately. Matt Armstrong's Veyron rebuild has Bob, the machine shop specialist who has fabricated components for the Chiron that Bugatti refused to sell, including 60 hours spent recreating a front crash structure from a destroyed reference piece with no three-dimensional scan to work from. Bob is the reason the word impossible keeps failing to apply to these projects. Wherever Bugatti's parts policy builds a wall, Bob builds a door. Mark McCann's restoration has its own version of that relationship. The craftsmen working these panels carry knowledge that no dealership network is equipped to replicate and no parts catalog can replace. When the panels arrived at the machine shop, one piece stopped the team completely. Not because it was damaged beyond hope, but because of how it had been made in the first place. Matt Armstrong's Veyron has a plastic front bumper, lightweight, functional, and in principle replaceable. Mark McCann's Mansory-modified Veyron has a front bumper machined from a single solid block of aluminium, not cast, not fabricated from sheets welded together. A billet piece. A solid brick of raw aluminium with everything that was not the bumper carved away until the shape that remained was exactly what Bugatti and Mansory intended. It is wasteful in terms of material and extraordinary in terms of result. It is also absolutely irreplaceable by any conventional means. If it is ever seriously damaged, there is no path to a factory replacement. That bumper, with the Bugatti horseshoe sitting at its center, is one of a kind. The polishing process that followed is its own science. Aluminium exposed to air develops a surface layer called aluminium oxide, the metal's equivalent of rust, except where steel rust is red, destructive, and spreads, aluminium oxide is white, extremely hard, and in small quantities actually protective. The problem is accumulation. After 20 years, the oxide layer that builds up on a polished surface creates the cloudiness that makes old polished aluminium look flat and dull rather than mirror bright. Getting back to the finish Mansory originally created means removing that oxide layer progressively and precisely. 800 grit paper cuts the high points. 1200 grit refines the surface. 3 stages of polishing compound follow: aggressive, intermediate, fine, each one reducing the microscopic scratches left by the previous stage until the surface is flat enough to reflect like glass. 8 hours per panel, across a car with multiple body panels, all of them in varying states of denting, scratching, and oxide buildup after years of exposure to the real world. The target finish was described by the team leader as Royal Family Spoon Shiny. That sounds amusing until you stand in front of a billet aluminium bumper polished to that standard and actually look at what it does to light. There is one detail from this restoration that deserves particular attention. When the panels were assessed, every single wheel arch had an identical dent, not similar dents, not damage in roughly the same area, but the same dent in the same position on all 4 arches. The most credible explanation anyone offered was alignment or tracking equipment, the kind of tool that rests against body panels during suspension setup, which can leave marks in bare aluminium if the contact point is not properly padded. That means at some point in this car's history, someone set up the geometry, made contact with all 4 arches in the process, and left a permanent record of that session in the metal itself. For dents, for arches, same position on every one. On panels with no factory replacement, in a material that holds damage permanently, with no paint layer to absorb any of it. That is the reality of owning a Mansory-modified Bugatti Veyron with polished aluminium panels instead of painted ones. Every interaction the car has with the physical world, every alignment check, every stone from the road, every hand that rests on it without care, goes directly into the metal and stays there. The restoration team worked through both the front and rear panels methodically, annealing and hammer work to address every dent, progressive sanding through multiple grades, and then polishing until the reflections in the aluminium stopped looking like workshop metal and started looking like something on display. When the panels went back onto the car at Falanga, the transformation was visible with every single piece that was fitted. Each panel changed the shape of the car. The team behind the polishing stood back and watched a 900,000-pound Veyron that had arrived as a collection of dull, dented pieces begin to look like one of the most beautiful cars ever made. No manufacturer's parts catalog can replicate what happened in that machine shop. Not Bugatti's, not Mansory's, not anyone's. The craftsmanship that went into restoring these panels, the annealing, the hammer work, the 8-hour polishing runs, is the craftsmanship that will define what this car looks like for the next 20 years. Subscribe now because the final polish and the photo shoot are coming. And when this Veyron is presented in its finished state, it is going to be one of the most striking things this community has ever seen.